Last time we made a video about, I think it was like the biggest curse to overachievers that tend to go unnoticed. Do you still remember your response?
Yes, of course I do. What was the thing I said about it? I said that I feel like you kind of get confused on like what you're achieving.
Yeah.
I guess because you're putting so much pressure on yourself, the more and more like you are closer to your goal, I feel like all the burnout and the stress makes you question whether you even want the goal at the end, just because of the build-up and like the challenges that you have to take to get there, just not knowing what you truly want.
For sure. Has that changed since the last time that we spoke?
I don't think so. I don't think it's changed.
Love it. Cool. It's good to have you back.
Aw,
I mean,
thank you. Thanks for
we've
having me.
we've said that we're gonna have this podcast. I think during those 2 years ago, we were like,
Yeah.
we need to do this. So yeah, so full circle having you in as a guest. So thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
But yeah, I think you're now one of Australia's headline creators, like ones that you can't really come to Australia and not have visibility on, right? So like, I guess the question I have for you now, because it's been so long, is who is Sofia today? You know, because you've graduated from university now, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yes, I have.
And so like, who is Sofia today then?
Well, first of all, thank you for flattering me and boosting my ego. But I would say who I am today is, for those who don't know me, hi, I'm Sofia, and I was originally a university content creator who posed as an international student that came to Australia with big goals and big dreams, but obviously faced the crushing reality of what it is to start a new life abroad in a different culture, different environment, different part of the world. Now I have finished university, I can strip the studying abroad title from my name, and now I'm completely me, Sofia, and I have spent the time curating my taste through travel, food, career, building something for myself as someone else studying and working abroad. So I would say now I am Sofia, someone that has moved abroad and come here to work abroad, no longer a student anymore.
How do you balance now, like the work and you work full time now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome, right? So how do you balance the full time and then the travel as well? Because you still go through both. It's part of your brand, right?
Yeah. So I love travel. I think that traveling is a necessity for your mindset. I think it's mainly because I grew up in a family that just traveled nonstop since I was a kid. I was literally in my mom's womb on a plane. So that kind of just started the whole trajectory of why I love traveling and why I was so eager to move abroad in the first place. It was never like hesitant to me. So with my current job now, I work for a beautiful, lovely Gen Z ran agency. Shout out to my boss, James and Angus. But they brought me on as a content creator to lead a UGC content creation company that they're building. And with that, they understood that taking me on would also be being able to compensate for my role as a content creator, which is someone that definitely can't have a rigid 9-to-5 schedule all year round. So with that, I was grateful enough to find the flexibility in that type of job and balance that with being a content creator. So yeah, that's how I would say balancing it, finding the boss that understands you for you and cherishing that.
Yeah, super important.
Yeah.
I know Angus is really cool, and I'm sure James is as well.
Yeah.
I haven't spoken to him yet, but yeah, that's awesome. Tell me a bit more about how you actually landed that job, because there's a lot of lore behind that too, right?
Yes, there is. Okay, so a little bit about how I even like got my job to begin with. I came out straight out of UNSW and I had a huge ego. I was like, wow, I'm doing so well on social media. Like big brands are working with me, Uber, Apple, just like, I'm on my high horse. Come out, send 20 to 30 job resumes. I don't hear back. I do hear back from some, and it says, unfortunately, and I already know that, what would be worth for me to read from emails that start with unfortunately. But I just realized, wow, I think just the job economy in Australia is super competitive, and I'm an international student. I'm an outsider. So it's completely understandable why it would be 10 times harder for me to grow. So when I was crashing out in my apartment, I decided to write out what makes me me, because I think resumes, regardless how colorful I may appear on them, they're still black and white. There's no visuals to it. There's no graphics. And it's all tied to things that I've done on paper. Nothing to do with my other skills. It's all tied down to what I achieved in university and what I've achieved in high school and things that are, I guess, on paper at the end of the day. So I thought to myself, I'm going to write down what makes me me. I'm going to write down my personality. I'm going to write down my upbringing. I'm going to write down the vulnerable parts of me. And I'm going to write down all of the other skills I acquired during university through content creation, through freelance social media strategy, which I do for companies time to time. I'm going to write all of that down and I'm going to post it to the internet. And I know that the algorithm will bring me to the right employers. And so I did. And I think to date, the videos have around 900,000 views. Just amazing.
Love it.
Yes. 900,000 views. And then I think if you were to ask me 3 months ago, it was 37 job offers that came in the span of like 2.5 weeks. Till date, I think around, which I stopped counting, around like 53 job offers from Australia, New Zealand. I'm based in Sydney, so even parts in Melbourne as well, in Perth, just a lot of like different opportunities. And from then on, I got brought on by my two bosses, which they own a startup agency, a creative digital agency. And the reason why I chose them was because I was looking at all the amazing job opportunities, and it was like full-time dental, healthcare, like, you're gonna be a marketing manager. And I decided to read the comment section to see what people thought. And a lot of the people that were really supportive of me said, you are too colorful and creative to be downsized to a normal 9-to-5 role. You need to find an employer that truly is looking at this video and is seeing all the aspects of you, and they want you to keep those aspects of you through working. And that's when James and Angus reached out, and they wanted someone to grow their UGC content creation company. And then when I look back at all the comments, and even my nail tech, because she came here as an international student, I was telling her about this whole dilemma. She told me, you are too creative to be in just a normal position. You need to find an employer that wants you to already be at the top of the tree, management position, leading something, being the lead of something. And that's what Angus and James gave me, which I'm very fortunate for. And at the same time, I could have went the route and done content creation for the next 2.5 years. And if I'm being completely transparent, I could have just went off my content creation income. But I think the immigrant parents in me have distilled some sort of overachieving tendency to want to do something that's stable, just have a 9-to-5, and have something that is fulfilling, which is doing content creation. So I hope that answered your question on what happened and how I'm employed now.
It goes to say that your personal brand goes way, way further than just a piece of content online now. It's essentially your colorful resume in the way that you mentioned it, right?
Yeah.
Being able to push your name out there in a way that is more representative of who you actually are and your skills and what you can do for somebody in the results that you provide to them, than a piece of paper can, saying 3 dot points being like, oh yeah, we executed on this, we dissected this, analyzed this. So for sure. How has content then shaped your career? Because I know Angus and James brought you on to Juicy now, but let's think a little bit more macro, right? Where would Sofia be today without becoming one of, I would say, Australia's queen of engineering viral content now?
Without creating content? Is that the question? Like, where would I be if I didn't create content?
That's right.
I think that I would have had to do more traditional jobs. I studied marketing, so I would have to be placed in more traditional marketing jobs. I think content creation has opened up just a lifestyle for me as well. If I'm being completely transparent, coming as an international student from like a developing country, with like currency differences, it is quite expensive to be able to afford and live in one of the most expensive cities in the world. Doing content creation in the beginning, before I had a lot of followers, before I had brands that could truly trust me, was all purely gifted. Free dinners, free lotion, free bath products, free makeup, all of that stuff. And I thought to myself, wow, I would count like the value of the products that were given to me. And I was like, wow, like, look at me. I can just go and splurge on like hundreds of dollars of dinner, like fine dining. And by doing that, it conditioned me to want more. So I think in a way, content creation did shape my lifestyle to have, I guess, like better quality and like the flexibility of things that I can do. I can do more things now because I'm saving less on, you know, beauty products, furniture products, like eating out. So that was the first thing. And then number two is it gave me a lot of opportunity to go to other places, to see the world. I think like traveling to me is such a big part of who I am, and going and traveling was able to give me a broader mindset, a broader skill set to begin with. And so it was able to take me more places geographically. It was able to fulfill little expenses that ended up being bigger expenses, to condition my mindset to wanting more in life. And then the third thing would be, I guess, being able to have the flexibility to do more things. Like when I was unemployed, I had the chance, I had the platform to yell, to scream, to cry for help. Yeah. If I did not have that platform, I could have posted that 60-second resume on, let's say, 1,000 followers. Would anyone have heard me? Regardless of how good the video editing was, regardless of how good my scripting was, probably not. I don't have any credibility. I would have 1,000 followers and a really good video. So I would say content creation has helped me in so many different aspects, not just monetary aspects, but it's a full circle that we can go through.
Right. It almost goes into if you're not visible, it doesn't matter how good you are, people won't be able to see it.
Yeah.
And I think you've encapsulated that the best with just how in the span of a few weeks you decided, well, what am I genuinely good at? I know you mentioned you wrote down, you know, what you want to actually tell with your story and how you want to share that to the rest of the world when you're in your resume video, right?
Yeah.
And simply just going through that and saying, okay, well, I'm great at doing this one thing, content. I'm great at engineering virality. I'm great at helping brands become visible. And then you brought that as a superpower coming into now the working world. Yeah. So it's already just like a super inspiring story.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
What is your take actually? Because I know we spoke about this earlier, but the Australian creator economy, they don't nearly wear their hearts on their sleeve nearly as much. It's a lot more conservative. The partnerships that you do get, they don't necessarily pay at all compared to say other countries like the US, Europe, where they'll have agencies that properly compensate their creators.
Yeah.
Would you say that it's still worthwhile to be a creator if you are based in Australia?
100%. I think it's really good to be in a place where there's a lot of opportunity. I think when you focus on, there's greater opportunities in like Europe or in the States, but it's harder for you to get seen because the economy is already pretty infiltrated. It's pretty concentrated in that sense. So I would say that if you are in a place where no one is doing what you're doing, I think it's even better for you to grow because it's more chance for you to get seen, more chance for you to pioneer the pavement. So yeah, regardless of not being able to get paid what I'm worth, I would say in Australia, and not being able to get compensated fairly as if I was to relocate geographically somewhere else, I would say it's still very much worth it because it's still opening up other doors, not necessarily content creation, for you to build something here. So whether it's like securing employment, building a brand for yourself, building something else. So I think in reality, content creation, no matter where you are, is always a stepping stone for you to broaden anything else you're ambitious about.
Yeah, love it. It really brings home the fact that content isn't purely just you being a content creator. And that's sort of what I wanted to get out of that question. Yeah. Because even though Australia is technically growing as a creator economy now, it's the whole idea that the traditional creator is just one small aspect of how the personal branding side of things actually work. People now realize that, even founders that I work with, they understand that having the leverage of a personal brand will help them expand their network, get more business, and overall push traffic to their own companies. So it's not necessarily just about, oh, please work with me, big company, which is like what your usual influencer would go towards. But yeah, that's awesome to hear. I feel like whenever I work with creators on their brands, the most common thing that I hear that holds them back is the fear of embarrassment.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard this a lot as well.
Yes.
People like DM you every now and again. And like overall, embarrassment and just caring about the judgment of others as well to get them started.
Yeah.
From where you are, how have you been able to navigate that, especially with how you push yourself online?
I guess I'll start this conversation with how I even had the confidence to achieve what I did today. I would say when I first came from Malaysia to Australia and moved abroad here, I would post everything purely out of making sure it was as perfect and cookie cutter as possible. No followers were gained, no likes were gained from that. My confidence was quite low because I was afraid to be seen as strange, especially when you're in a completely different environment. You want to fit in as much as possible. You fit in from where you came from, but over here you don't. So trying to make you seem as polished as possible to fit in here was the goal. And that's when I realized, you know what, lack of a better word, fuck it. Like, so I would say in terms of like not caring what people think, I've always been very confident growing up, but I thought to myself that I was like on a ticking time bomb. I'm only studying here for 2.5 years. If I care so much about what people think, I would be wasting my time. I would be wasting everything. Like, I look at everything transactional wise sometimes, time to time. That's how I've always been. So I would look at it as, every second, every hour I waste on rent, every hour I waste on my university fees, every second that I waste on traveling here to there. So I saw everything as like a ticking time bomb, because I live by something which I guess is a bit morbid, but you kind of don't know when your last day will be. And because of that, I keep thinking to myself, okay, I don't care, because I don't know how many seconds left I would have to not care or to care, if that makes sense. So after I started seeing every day as every tomorrow not being promised, that helped me navigate through upholding what I believe in, which is the fear of embarrassment and not caring. So that's my take, I would say.
It almost sounds like the upwards pressure that goes upon you going, well, I don't know what tomorrow's going to be like.
Yeah.
And if you have other commitments too, say for example, you mentioned the rent, right? Like rent is due and you're like, oh, I have to actually push together something to make ends meet.
Yeah. Would
you say that upwards pressure to go as far as possible is the primary factor that contributes to people's increase the chance of people's success like tenfold, just simply by saying, okay, now we have this pressure to succeed, there's no option other than succeeding?
I would say, as someone that is of an immigrant background who is here, of course it's easier for us to push ourselves because we know that we're on a ticking time bomb when it comes to paying the bills, rent is due, when the visa expires. But if you look past that, for people who aren't in that situation, you can look at it as, how long do I have left in university? There's flexibility when you're studying. How long do I have in this job? How long do I have, wherever I'm living? So it's like everyone's on a ticking time bomb. It's just what you make of it and what your ticking time bomb is. So I think some people would be like, let's say if I was in my home country, obviously my ticking time bomb wouldn't be as much as here, but I would still think to myself, okay, well, I need to find a job now. That's my ticking time bomb. So yeah, I would say. Yeah.
What does your day-to-day look like? Right, I imagine you're super busy with dealing with Juicy and whatnot, but as somebody who has now sort of, you settled in now to Sydney, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like as somebody
Very.
who's now settled in and still like actively traveling, going around and almost side questing. I think I would also say like you're probably one of the biggest side questers that I know.
Yes.
What does your day to day look like as somebody who's now like a creator but also working a 9 to 5? Because there's obviously people who want to work 9 to 5 but also do something on the side.
Yeah, I would say my day to day, well, what I live by is to maximize my day, and unfortunately, I would say this is just for the time being now because I'm in my early 20s and this is the youngest that I will ever be. I structure my day 9 to 5 purely for work, full-time job. But I also make sure that my 5 to 9 is fulfilled with something that I'm ambitious about, or it's something that is related to my 9 to 5 so that my 9 to 5 feels a bit more lightweight. And then my 5 to 9 in the evening is for content creation. So just making sure that there's like an equal balance to all of it. And then I guess like my weekends would just be fully content creation. I posted a video and it was quite, I guess like there was just double opinions on it. I said, I'm going to work 7 days a week for 365 days for the next 365 days. And everyone was saying like, oh my God, you're going to crash out. You're literally going to go insane. You're going to develop some sort of mental illness. Like, well, that's how far the comments were going. And I was like, well, if I do, then I'll stop. But I decided to live by that so that my day-to-day is work. And I picked a job that I'm so passionate about that ties back to content creation and marketing. And then my content creation job ties back to me, who I am as a person, and video editing, because I love video editing and filming. So I make sure that my day-to-day is ambitiously driven with something that I love that I won't complain about at the end of the day. So my day-to-day for the next year, I hope, or so, would just be working and working. So yeah.
It's almost like if you love what you do, everything doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
And when you're finally in that flow state of doing what you love, people from an external perspective will think you're absolutely insane for working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
But then you working those 7 days a week, you can't see yourself doing something else, right?
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of founders that I speak to as well, not just the clients that I work with, just like friends and stuff like that here. And when you ask them, what do you do with your spare time? They just like mind blank and there's nothing else to say because it's like, what do? They go through the motions, they work, they eat, they sleep, they gym, they keep their health in check and their relationships. But then otherwise, all they're really doing is saying, I'm doing what I love. And that is whatever business that I'm building, whatever I'm founding in terms of a startup, if I'm doing some sort of like other hobby.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it really, really goes to show that like to get through the motions of a day to day, what people will see as insane, you will find completely effortless.
Yes.
And it's really just like finding that and then ticking around over that to, come to your own self-alignment. I know you mentioned, right, it just ties in. You do work, it goes to content, and then content, you love content because you edit it and it just goes back to you.
Yeah.
So every single step of the way, you're loving what you do, which is such a rare thing.
It is. It is rare. And I do want to note that it is not practical to say that this is realistic for all types of like job fields or career paths that you choose to take. I'm sure if you go into the medical field, you don't have the flexibility to, push in something that you love because obviously you would have a more rigid schedule. But I do believe after talking to so many different people, I surround myself with a network of people who do completely different things as me. Some people I know are like full-time accountants, some do nursing, some do biotech, some run a business, some are Nepo babies. I am able to see that it is completely possible for you to do everything ambitiously and still have love for yourself and still have love to do other things that you're passionate about. It is possible. And I think anyone that doesn't think it's possible just probably hasn't had the exposure or has thought outside the box of how to make it possible. So yeah.
I think this leads us into lifestyle design a bit, right? Like how do you design your lifestyle in a way so that you can optimize for like your own happiness whilst also going towards your content goals and just even like personal goals as well. How do you go about designing a lifestyle that can balance both your own success goals and then also just like maintenance, really?
Yeah. Well, I like to think, well, because I think we started talking about overachievers, but I think because I strive to be an overachiever, I kind of thought outside the box for planning all my schedules. So this is kind of how I even started up to begin with, is when I was in university. I was a full-time student at UNSW. I was studying marketing, and I thought to myself, I saw so many people taking gap years, which I understand, some courses that would be the best possible choice for you. But I saw people, traveling while they're in college and uni, taking gap years, gap semesters, maybe dropping out for a bit. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm doing marketing, UNSW, the university that we go to, but they offer, I guess, a more flexible schedule. So I decided to do this thing, which I think everyone should do if you can, is I pack my days to the brim. So I would try to pack all my classes on one day. So I'll pack all my lectures, all my tutorials on Monday or Tuesday. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I can go travel the world. I can go to another state. I can use that to, just film content for the next 5 days. And that's what made me me, because I was able to do everything at the same time while not, I guess, laying back too much. So just packing my schedule as much as possible, I would say. And then, yeah, because I think one thing that everyone should note is that I think on the outside, when they see content creators like me who are traveling here, traveling there, has an education, they think, oh my gosh, they're so type B, I could never, like, no, those people are type A. They plan ahead. They plan so much ahead. Like, for me to even pack my schedule like that, I would have to plan my subjects for the entirety of my course to see which one fits on what month, what season. I look at it, I nitpick it, I see the teachers, see what time their classes are. I do it all analytically. I put it in an Excel sheet, and then I would say, okay, I will have time to travel to places further than Asia in semester 2 because I can just go to school on Monday. Maybe another semester I can't. It has to be spread out Monday, Thursday, Friday. And then I'll take the time to do more content creation because I would be like based here. So all of that, like over planning and over analytical organization, is what made me able to be an overachiever. So now when you ask like how I'm able to balance everything, it's because when I did that employment video and I got all the offers, I was looking for the employer that had the most flexibility and had the most understanding for me. So they didn't want me just as a social media manager or a social media lead. They wanted me for me, and they wanted me to keep that part of me because they know that the further I go, the further I'll take their business, and I'll do a better job at that. So I made sure to find every opportunity possible to find, I guess, like a platform or an outlet that was able to allow me to diversify my life. So I'm able to travel, I'm able to take leave, I'm able to remote work, I'm able to film in the office after hours. No one bats an eye. I'm able to come in early and film my content before work. So yeah, I think just being very privy of my decisions and making sure that at the end of the day, every decision that I pick allows me to do multiple things at once. So I don't regret not starting earlier or not doing it at all. So just being a type A person so I could be a type B person.
It's almost like you have to selfishly prioritize who you are and how you work.
Yeah.
Because otherwise there's going to be this massive mismatch, and that's where the burnout occurs.
Yeah.
And doesn't matter how much of an overachiever you are and what you do, if you're genuinely good at what you do, you'll end up quitting way earlier than other people who actually optimized for how they work and how they can continue day to day, because it's really just who can stay in.
Yeah.
Right? If you drop out, the game's over.
Yeah.
And it's just a cyclical cycle from there, for sure. is hustle culture dead then? Because I know you mentioned that you actively plan to try and pack everything into one place as possible, so that you then have the freedom to do whatever you want, but then it's still all calculated.
Yeah.
Right? So in that vein, it almost completely disproves the idea of sporadic behavior, saying, I just want to travel tomorrow, and you pack your bags, you book the flight, you go. I think that's like what the external image is of, say, like you as a travel creator as well, right? So in that vein then, is hustle culture dead through that?
I think hustle culture is very diluted in the sense where everyone can have the ability and the luxury to pick up a camera and edit, because technology, AI, and apps have made it so accessible. But I think hustle culture is, I don't know, I have like two different thoughts about this. I feel like it depends on your field and what you're hustling for. I think at the end of the day, individuality shines. Individuality is the most important. I think one thing that I tell my boss Angus all the time is, I'm so sick of seeing these 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure business owners, posting all this, doing the highly curated, waking up, gym, wellness, getting in my really sexy car, traveling, having a hot girlfriend, just, painting something like that. But at the end of the day, individuality is so important for, your followers, your investors, and everyone to see like who you really are. So I think hustle culture is only dead if you are a highly curated person who wants to join the game for a specific purpose. I think if you are someone that has so much originality, or you have so much ambition to, posting what you love about online, and it really shows, then hustle culture is definitely not dead for you, because you're going to keep going day to day. Even if you lose followers or you lose likes, you're still going to go day to day. So it's only dead if you truly don't understand why you're in the field that you're in, or why you've started creating content in the first place. So yeah, I think that's my answer.
It almost goes into how, especially when it comes to the founder space, you tend to try and do purely admiration based content, where you're saying, I'm living a life that other people can't necessarily live unless they work as hard as how I have to get there. But then I think the reason why I asked the question of if hustle culture is dead is because you're basically the one who coined the term bedrotting. Right? So like,
pissed a lot of people off with that one.
Yes, I think like with the whole idea of admiration content, doing almost like the anti-admiration and being more relatable is arguably just as important to build genuine connection with people online. So in that space, would you say that's like a necessary aspect for founders, especially, when you speak to these 6, 7, 8-figure brand owners? Do you actively think, well, the type of content you want to make, it's not just value. It's also understanding people's problems day to day, right? Like, how do you navigate the dynamic for that if you were to do any sort of advisory for them?
I would say that at the end of the day, when, I guess, being honest, all these like people that make this aspirational content, and they're fully curated to be surrounded by like the luxury aspect of life, they have to understand that majority of the people in our society can't like attain that. So it is really important to be vulnerable at the end of the day. I think a lot of people have been saying that this year things are changing, and now the creator economy is like evolving into being more vulnerable, having less curated videos, less curated scripts. Because at the end of the day, I think what carries you is what will always carry your content, or you as a friend or a person or a son or a sibling, will be your character regardless. And that will carry through content, that will carry through your business. So I think being vulnerable, always having an aspect of your vulnerability in your content creation is so important. Because here's one thing I notice. I'm guilty of this. I love binge watching luxury creators, people that do all luxury fine dining videos, bags, Birkins, spas, just traveling the whole world, going to like these 6-star resorts. And I notice that when they don't post about the luxury items that they always post about, their views drop. And they can't really attract other brands to work with them. But when I see creators who are able to, post something that they're really passionate about, which is like the unattainable lifestyle, which of course all of us want to have an unattainable lifestyle. That's what makes it cool, is not everyone can have it. But I realize when they do post the vulnerable parts of saying like, hey, I was broke in high school, or like trigger warning, but I guess I went through traumas, I was abused, I went through, all these really hardships. It's so amazing because it's able to shine through the viewers that can't necessarily think they're able to attain this, to think that they can. And from then on, regardless of what transaction it would be, how valuable it would be, like whether they're a follower or investor or a friend or someone in their network, there's still a link to it, and that will carry on. That will carry on through engagement, that will carry on through credibility. So I would say that being vulnerable is so, so important, because no one that I know has, 99% of the people I know have had traumatic experiences, which is why they're that ambitious, and that's why they want to have so much drive. So yeah, I think being vulnerable is always important. I know that a lot of people say like, oh, I don't want to be vulnerable because I don't want this person to see. I don't want people to think that I'm not strong as I am. Letting your ego down is the best thing that you can do. I think, I'm sorry to say this, maybe I'm not the most expert on this, especially because I am a woman and I'm speaking in a man's point of view, but a lot of male business owners that I've watched and consumed who are so successful and they're making millions on millions, they let their guard down, and they would attribute that to why they are so successful, is they're able to let their guard down and, in a way, not look at it as, oh, I'm like downgrading my masculinity by being vulnerable, but they're able to just break through that wall. And then they're able to attract this amount of people to believe in them and to carry their story with them. So being vulnerable is the best way to touch anyone's hearts, regardless it's like professional or personal.
It's almost like it's a necessary stepping stone. You can't really show the apex without showing the steps that it took to get there.
Yeah.
Because otherwise nobody's going to look at that content and be like, I can be there too one day.
Yeah.
Or I want to really work with this guy because this guy is just somehow at the top and I really don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
So the vulnerability side, 100%. I've spoken to pretty successful entrepreneurs as well. Like I know you have, and like even on my end, I think it's almost like whenever you speak to these guys, they tend to almost be like kids in a candy shop where they're like, wow, there's this like amazing thing that just happened to me. Like, oh, this like this random person on the street recognized me and they like shouted me coffee or something like that.
Aww,
and it's just like these small things that you would think, oh yeah, like this guy's a dick at the top, or like this girl's a bitch at the top. But it's those types of moments where it's like, oh well, it's insane that I'm even at this point because I remember my roots on where I came from and the steps that it took me to get there. If I'm able to share that with other people, I'm sure that type of wonder will translate over to that person as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like such an important aspect of getting to know you as a founder if you are going to push yourself out there.
Yeah.
100%.
I would say so.
In terms of UGC, because I know you do work with a UGC agency now, right? Where does UGC fit into the whole founder economy? Because you have people who are saying, okay, purely build a personal brand and all your leads come through there.
Yeah.
You could say, okay, purely do like paid ads, that'll go through there. You'll get amazing ROAS through there. And then now you have like this UGC platform where you're saying, okay, we're going to get a bunch of creators to just flood you with millions of views and make organic content and push that out.
Yeah.
Where does it fit into the equation? Should brand owners be doing all three?
I would say that, of course, it differs from your industry, what your specific goals are for growing your business and how you want to be perceived. So I would say personally for me, so I basically I'm growing a UGC marketing company. It's called Juicy. And it's basically how it works is you're sourcing and vetting UGC creators, and just to, I guess, explain, UGC creators are, UGC is user generated content. So it's not necessarily tied to being an influencer or a content creator who's established and has a large following. So it's just people who know how to edit, film, and have a personality that they can put onto video. The reason that I went into this business and why I thought it was super fascinating with the founders of Juicy, James and Angus, who are helping obviously found the company, is that for UGC, you're able to find the right people and you're able to find the most authentic voice. When it comes to social media influencers, there's only a certain type of content strategy or marketing strategy that could lead, and that is not applicable for all industries and all different products and services. So if UGC, you're able to, I guess, make sure and control as much as your brand image through the creators that you pick. Whereas for influencers, you're kind of like stuck. You're stuck with a amount of people that are available in the creator economy, and you have to deal with it. They can have a lot of followers, but what if it doesn't translate? Or it will work out if, like, let's say you have a bikini brand and then you find a creator that is always at the beach, she's always wearing bikinis, she posts about it. Of course, all her followers are gonna, well, most probably, like, buy the product because she can stand for it. But that doesn't work for every single product. So if UGC, you're able to find the right people to represent you, and you're able to hone on authenticity, because nowadays a lot of people are more likely to trust random people that go online and talk about their next favorite thing. Like, I think there was this girl, she went really viral she was really fascinated by this bagel cutter. So it was like a bagel cutter. She would like put the bagels in and like cut it. I think it has 20 million views, maybe more, maybe less, I'm not sure. But yeah, so like then everyone in the comment section is like, I want a bagel cutter. If your favorite influencer, I guess, I'm not sure. Let me think. I guess Emma Chamberlain. She's like, oh, I really love this bagel cutter. Okay, maybe on the surface, a lot of people are seeing it, but do we really know how many people are willing to trust her because they've never seen her eat a bagel? So that's why UGC creation is so powerful. You're more likely to trust someone that you don't know, and has no reason to lie, no reason to bluff, over someone that has all the other reasons too. So I would say to founders that UGC creation is definitely something to hone in moving forward, because I think now our creator economy, we're moving into honing in on authenticity and realness. So nowadays everyone wants to be a creator. So when we see our friends rave about something, we're obviously more likely to trust them, even though it's a mutual that we don't know, versus a influencer. So I would say that it's all important, but it is something to definitely be strategic about, because you can pay thousands and millions on ad spend on paying the influencer because they're giving you their inflated rate card to reflect their following count and their engagement. But to be more strategic about it, I think UGC is definitely the best way, especially if you're starting out. But I think they're all valuable. I'm not saying one is more valuable than the other, obviously. But yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely from the personal brand perspective, because that's where my business runs. But then, yeah, with UGC, I think the great thing that, I'm sure you'll agree with this as well, and you kind of mentioned this, but you pay per performance. If you go through a traditional influencer, yeah, you'll get views, but you can't really gauge the return on the spend that you will go through in getting invoicing from them.
Yeah.
Rather, with UGC, you can almost guarantee that as a top of funnel, you're going to get visibility, or you will pay for the visibility that you do get.
Yes.
And it's well translated. It might not be the most trustworthy because it's random strangers.
Yes.
Right. And yes, UGC could be trusted a bit more just depending on the ticket of the product, where it's like, oh yeah, if this person's making this piece of content, I think in the back of people's minds, they're constantly thinking, well, was this person paid to say this?
Yeah.
Right. So UGC is sort of there as a top of funnel visibility side of things. But then if we funnel that down, I think, 100% you're right. Like, you have UGC as your top of funnel visibility, you have your paid ads as your targeting. And then even with the personal brand side of things, it's really getting that one person to say, okay, this is the right product and the right person for me.
Yeah.
So like even from a founder lens, all three of them can work. It's just a matter of which hinge point do you actually want to target first.
Yeah.
Are you getting enough visibility
Yeah.
on your product? Then UGC 100% go for it.
Yeah.
Are you going to target well enough your middle of funnel? Then okay, we can do some paid ads.
Yeah.
Or am I missing the trust factor?
Yeah.
Do people know who I am, and is that even necessary to my brand in the first place? Like I hop on one-on-ones every now and again, and sometimes I straight up tell these founders like, you don't even need a personal brand, because like what are you trying to get out of it? If you're trying to get more sales, I mean, like you might be running a business that doesn't necessarily need it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really just like the right targeting and just pushing through and giving them advice in the right direction.
Yeah. There's not one concrete answer or one concrete path to what would be the best marketing strategy. I think all of this has to be just dissected at the end of the day to see, depending on the state of your business or the state of your social media or the state of what's most important to you. So I would say that it all needs to be dissected at the end of the day. I don't think there's just one right answer.
We've gone a lot into the founder side of how content is being used today and like how they can use that to really leverage and grow their business, build a life around what they love and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit into the creator side of things. You know, people who want to go into it, because I know that's your specialty. I think we've gone in a bit into my tunnel vision, but
in your specialty.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of the content side, if you were to tell somebody who is, you know, they've just freshly moved into a completely new space and they have this upwards pressure to, okay, I need to be able to succeed because I'm on like what you said, a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
Right? How would they go about getting started in now the content space as it is in 2026?
Mm-hmm. Like how to start out as a content creator?
Yeah.
Is that
like
what you mean?
where would we go in terms of avenue? Would we focus on building followers? Would we focus on building trust? Would we focus on working with brands straight away? How does that dynamic work this in 2026?
Well, it's like, okay, I just don't like the term of how do I be a content creator? How do I grow as a content creator? How can I be a content creator? I generally think that when you're so analytical about it, it's so hard to like set your intentions correctly, because I think some people go into it saying like, I want a lot of followers. Okay, and then that would skew, like I guess planning who you are as a person. So I think how to be a content creator, I truly believe needs to be something that you truly love and are comfortable with. So like for content creation with me and a lot of people that I know who do well, they went into content creation because they went on a really cool trip and they really wanted to experiment with video editing or video filming. And then I have, you know, another friend who is like, I started content creation because I want to look back at my fashion evolution of how I used to dress in 2024 to now 2026. So I think how to be a content creator is truly being so fascinated with doing the craft itself before you factor in money, brand deals, maybe growing your brand. I think how to be a content creator is like being happy with it when it was in 0 followers from scratch, when you look into your videos. So I think the best way to be a content creator is to take some time and to not rush the beginning growth part of your content creation journey, trying to find out who you are, trying to find out your video editing style, trying to find out, are you comfortable with putting yourself online? Unfortunately, there are so many people that try and push themselves, but they still have so much anxiety over, you know, the share button, seeing the amount of shares for their posts, seeing the comments. They would have to just like check the comments every day, delete them. So I think at the end of the day, it's an experimental phase that every content creator needs to go through, whether it be a month, a year, 3 years. You just need to learn how to thread in the waters without knowing or hoping for like a safety like float to like come and save you, which would be like the brand deals, getting paid, working, getting free gifts, getting free opportunities. So I think just learning how to start from zero and not having expectations is how to be a content creator, and being able to survive in that period, not knowing how long it's going to take.
It's almost like if you if you peel away everything, the editing, the camera work, everything that makes your brand visually what it is, if you're not left with authenticity and truth on yourself, it almost feels like a spring that'll snap at any moment. And it's hard for people to really connect with that and really want to even work with you from that point forward, because it just doesn't feel like you are doing a proper representation of you. And again, like people buy from people. So
Yeah.
it's almost like you being able to identify a problem that people are actively facing. That's going to be way more important than providing just straight value. Like, oh, here's why you should move to Australia as an international student. It's more like, okay, well, I love the whole experience of moving to Australia as an international student, but I hit these roadblocks. That would be so much more connective than simply just saying, oh, here are like a few things that I did. It was all awesome. It was great. It's it's just like having that level of unpolishedness, but in a way that is, not overly done, right?
Yeah.
But doing so in a way that actually builds genuine connection with these people. So
All comes back to pulling yourself down to earth, being human. Being human is the most important.
Yeah, for sure. If you were to tell the brand builder today, let's break it into two parts.
Okay.
The founder who wants to build their brand, and then the creator who wants to build something around what they're doing. Maybe they have a few thousand followers right now, but they don't really know what direction to go. So you have these two camps. What's one piece of advice that you would tell each camp that they could action today when it comes to building their brand, building their business, going across basically the intersection of founder and creator?
I would say just creating content in general is what you mean, like that type of advice. I would say first evaluate the skills that you need in terms of like video editing, purchasing the right resources, making sure that the quality that you create like physically is good. I think that's the first thing. Just making sure you're educated on lighting, on filming, on video editing, on all those like nitty-gritty stuff is the most important. So at least it comes out in the best quality possible. And then number 2 is understanding what you're most passionate about, which is your product, your service, what your content is truly for. So just, I guess, the most important thing is making sure that you've done your best and you've fulfilled your maximum potential in terms of the skill set, and then finding and learning and exploring your ambition.
It's understanding that, you need to get the skills, bring yourself up there so that you've raised the bar, essentially. You've raised your baseline, but then you're also going through the process of continuously iterating. And honestly, like the most important, which is just reflecting back on where you actually want to go, because without that type of clarity in where you're going, you can't really hit any goal that you have. Because if your goal is just like a general, I want to hit this range of achievement, it doesn't take you nearly as far. So 100%. Build the skills, increase your baseline, get help whenever you can, continue to iterate, and just honestly enjoy the process. Go through the journey and love what you do.
Love what you do is the most important. So cheesy, so mainstream, so podcast quote worthy, but loving what you do and having passion for what you do will always carry you further and be the most noticeable in your quality of your craft, whatever you choose to do.
But yeah, Sophia, pleasure. I know 2 years in, so insane
in.
that we finally got to this point of the podcast. I'd definitely like to have you back, because I know we wanted to speak more, and I know you and I, we could yap for hours.
We could yap for hours. I will be back.
But yeah, it is getting dark, so we'll wrap it up there. And honestly, amazing insights when it comes to building brand on both the intersection of founder and creator. I think from your lens of a creator, it will help the founders looking to start breaking into the space, and even the creator who's starting out, somebody who wants to build a skill overall and then be able to market that as almost like a side hobby of their own, and something to really focus on and hone. would help a lot, this conversation. So
Yeah.
thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, thanks for having me, Jayden. I would like to say we have grown so much as individuals since 2 years back, follower-wise, experience-wise, and I guess education-wise, like, because now you're still in uni, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I am old. I'm out of uni. So yeah, we've grown so much. But I guess whoever's watching, key takeaway from all of this is to always make sure you chase what you're ambitious about. Be who you are. Be as vulnerable and down to earth and human as possible throughout content creation, throughout your personal life, because your authenticity will carry the most valuable relationships, whether it be transactional or whether it be personal. Content creation has opened so many doors for so many people and will always be able to open doors for anyone, no matter who you are. So yeah, I encourage everyone who listens to this to start today or try and start or learn more about it. It is the best age that we live in right now, the digital age. So yeah, and thank you to Jayden, who's super talented. Thank you for having me.